So today, what I really want to talk about is uh, mental health. What is that? For the longest time, I wanted to get some T-shirts made um, called "Mental Health, uh, No Such Thing," or "Mental Health Oxymoron." Right? Like mental and health don't really go together. The human mind is this protection mechanism. And well, I guess, Angie, let me welcome you. I haven't advertised this yet, so it might just be you and me. Do you have any questions today to start the day, Angie? I was about to do a little rant on the nature of the human mind and why mental health doesn't really exist. Because like those two things don't really go together. Mental and health, right? So a healthy mental state um, really is about not being in your mind at all. Um, so, uh, so for the time being, that's what I'll focus on, Angie, until you sort of uh, throw in a question. So this is our very sort of forced one that we're doing here today. Okay, so you're getting discouraged about a job search, right? Well, it's a good question. So, I just made a video, which I'm guessing you saw, about discouragement. I just posted it a day or two ago. So it's a really good topic. So how do we deal with discouragement? And I would say, ironically, that discouragement is good, right? And normally in our lives, that's what we do. Here's a bad feeling called discouragement. We try to get away from it. I was doing a little work the other day and I was going, gosh, if we flip the script on these feelings, then we have a whole different approach to it. If I say to it, thank God this feeling is here, thank God you're here, and that you're teaching me so much, then the way that you interact with that feeling in your body completely changes. If you sort of say to it, it's like, okay, you're a teacher of mine, then you suddenly look at it with this respect, right? Because the thing that's so good about it is it's the exact opposite of what we do, and what we do doesn't work very well. So if we do the opposite, there's a good chance that's going to work, right? Um, it's very difficult for people to get away from this feeling of like, I want to get away from these bad feelings. And of course, it's the thing in life that causes us the most trouble, trying to get away from these feelings. So if we instead say, so let's take discouragement. So what is discouragement? So I talked about this the other day. Discouragement is this hopelessness. It's not going to work. I'm never going to get there. And the energy of it is so weighty and so heavy, right? And of course, and especially someone like yourself, you're kind of a doer, you like to be in motion. This is the exact opposite energy. And so probably for you, this really needs to be embraced. Embrace this feeling of discouragement and take it in and say, okay, I value you. So what is it? So let's just kind of tune into it a little bit. Anybody who's listening or watching this later, tune into this heaviness. It's a slow, low, heavy kind of blah, right? And so if you look at this, there's different kinds of drugs. And there's amphetamines and there's barbiturates, and barbiturates are like heroin and those kinds of things, right? So this is much more of a heroin kind of feeling. This is a like low and slow. I just want to crawl under the covers and die. So when you're feeling discouraged like that, do you have that feeling that you just want to like get under the covers and like disappear in there for a couple of days? That's what I would expect. That's what happens with me when I have this feeling, right? This heavy feeling. So like I talk about all the time, the real power in this is to stop in the moment and catch that this feeling is happening right now. See, what usually happens for us is we're inside of a narrative. So I'm looking for a job. I'm not getting a job. I feel down. I don't want to feel down. What can I do? How can I search harder? How can I get that job? You see, we skip right over the discouragement and make it about what I can do. Instead of stopping everything and going, wait a minute, what is this discouragement? What's going on here? Oh, it's this feeling of I'm never going to get there. I'm hopeless. And then you have to start asking yourself questions like, well, why am I never going to get there? Why am I hopeless? And you might get to something like, well, it's because I'm no good or I'm not worthy. And this is the root of that. Now, I don't know what it is for you exactly. But, as you investigate it, you can start to see, and so maybe it's this feeling of I'm not worthy. So then this starts to make sense in terms of a job search. It's like, I don't deserve, I'm not good enough. And the best way to sort of get clear, so when we stop and we deal with the feeling, now, I just want to say this out loud and directly, that this is a practice and it's a way of life and it's a learning how to stop and deal with the emotions. And so what we're doing is we're making the emotions the most important thing that we're dealing with. The emotions are the thing that are causing us the most trouble. The emotions are the things that we're most powerless over. The ego wants to have us focus on situations, but it's the emotions that are the real killer. They're the ones that control us, control our actions, etc. So when we rightly place our emphasis on those, it starts to become very powerful. So here we are, we're exploring this discouragement, this hopelessness. And as I go into it, it feels just terrible. It feels like this morass. And I get down into sort of self-pity and everything slows down and it's just like, ugh, and everything feels like this trudge. The reason I made a video about it, because I feel like this is the number one thing that stops me, but I feel like this stops a lot of people, this discouragement. And so the problem is not the actions that we're taking or the results that we're getting, because that can always be tweaked. And it might take being with some feelings like this to sort of see the flaw in the way that we're approaching it or whatever. And for those of you who are dealing with like looking for work or money problems, you know what I mean? There's a very particular thing about it that I think is important to share. And that is, it seems like the universe is not being very attentive to us. And it seems like the universe is leaving us out in the cold. Hello, the Zamra's Tech. I don't know if that's your real name. If you want to share your real name with us, you can. So I was in the middle of talking about discussing job searching, looking for jobs, trying to fix your money situation when things are tight. And it seems like the universe is abandoning us. And it seems like we're on our own. And the thing that is most interesting to observe about that is usually what's happening is the situation is helping us to get to these feelings, and the very feelings that are coming up are the real problem that need to be solved. So if we look under this situation, if we look at if we look at this discouragement, and the discouragement is this sort of sign that what's really happening underneath the surface is that I feel like I'm not worthy, that I feel like I don't deserve, then that's the real problem. The not deserving is this energetic ball of energy. It's this big energetic system, and it is attracting. And right now, it's probably attracting lack of work. And we think the lack of work is the problem, but the problem is the thing that's attracting the lack of work, the energetic match. And so as we start to sort of turn our attention to the feelings inside and start to deal with those and resolve those, then we stop creating from this energy. And so it seems like searching for the job and I'm not getting a job, so I search harder and I call more people is the appropriate actions. And I'm not saying that taking those actions isn't important. It's really important to keep taking those actions. But the more important focus in all of this is always, if I'm taking the actions, what feelings are coming up? Right? What feelings are bringing me down? What feelings are really getting me? And those turn out to be the most important things that there are. Because that's where the real disease lives, the disease of the ego that wants to keep us trapped. And the ironic thing is that the ego looks always like it's trying to help us, but don't be fooled, because it's always trying to keep us stuck and trapped, always. And especially when it's yearning to get someplace. It's like, I really want to get this job and I really want to get someplace. Don't be fooled, because the place that it really wants to get you is into this desperate reaching and searching and the discouragement, because this is home base for us. Right? So Angie, I know you a bit. And you grew up in a household that had a lot of hopelessness in it. Right? And so maybe, just maybe, this discouragement is at the root of this, and this situation is helping you to get down to the root of this hopelessness, which might be the real issue, right? And so the other thing is, again, it seems like the universe is not there for us. The irony is the universe wants us to be healthy and happy. And so sometimes we have to be out there a little bit longer in the gunk, right? In order to go through the things that we need to go through. So the timing usually turns out to be right? Like, who was I talking to? Oh, like, we have a friend in our group, Susie, and she's been doing all this work and looking for jobs for months and all of that. And her situation was just about to become dire, right? This was running out and that was running out. And it was then that the job came through. And that's usually the experience of these kinds of things. And that long waiting period, that's where all the real work was being done to change the consciousness. And so it takes quite a bit of trust and faith to work through that and to get to a place where you sort of trust and know that sort of the good stuff is coming. So with you in particular, Angie, what I would say is, let's say it feels to you like you're being dragged behind a horse through gravel. It's like, okay, this is sort of the medicine, so to speak, that's needed, right? To enact the healing. And it might take you now getting discouraged where you're at to finally get down to what's really going on. Does that make sense? Like, because it's the feelings the deeper and deeper feelings that as you sort of go down the rungs on the ladder that are at the core. Like, so if you're like, I'm over here and I'm trying to get a job and that job is the solution, I'm way far away from the feelings. But as the feelings get bigger and stronger, as the sort of failure mounts, if you want to put it that way, the feelings get stronger and they get harder and harder to get away from and run away from. That's where that's the place that we get down to. That's where the healing is taking place, because we have to get down to the poison. So this is a story you might like. It's a touch graphic, but I was not a big drinker, but I remember one time I was hungover or something. And I took my little sister, Angie, to the library, and I was so sick, and I had to throw up. And I went over to the side of the library and I threw up, and I was getting down to, like, the nasty sort of yellow bile at the end. And what was happening there is I was getting down to the poison, that really disgusting stuff at the bottom. I'd gotten rid of all the surface layers. I was finally getting rid of, and it's like the system wanted the poison out. This is kind of like that. The circumstances that you're going through reveal the poison, and it's helping you get down to the poison, and learning to trust that process is this spiritual walking and this spiritual development that we're talking about, right? And there's the whole 12-step model and process, which is hopelessness is a big part of it. Discouragement. It's like they want you to get completely discouraged, because you get down to the real thing and you sort of break through. So hopefully this is making sense. And hopefully, for those of you who are watching this later, you start to get the sense, or at least we're planting the seed, that the universe is for you and not against you. And that the time it's taking to get to where you want to go is this healthy dose as you're working out all the problems and the issues. You're working out the real problem underneath. Okay, good. So the question then becomes, so in terms of sitting with feelings, some of you know how to do that. Some of you know how to get in touch with those feelings. Let's do a little bit of a meditation on this discouragement, hopelessness. Let's just do that, because I think it might be helpful. So if you're feeling discouraged at all, then close your eyes and take a breath, and let's just tune in. So let's go down into your toes, go down into your feet, feel the calmness in your feet, put your awareness in your ankles, and now your calves and your shins, the back of your legs, the front of your legs, your knees, right? We're just tuning into the body. Put your attention, your awareness in your bum, now in your pelvis, in your stomach. We're just taking a trip through the body. Put your awareness in your lower back, and now your middle back, and across from your middle back into your solar plexus. Just breathe into these spaces. Come up into your heart space. Breathe into that heart space and come around to the back, to your upper back. Feel whatever tension is there and breathe into that. And now wrap around to your throat. Put your attention into your throat. And now wrap around and put your attention into your neck. Feel that whatever tension or holding is happening in your neck. Breathe into that and then come up to the back of your head. Put your attention there and now to your face. And then put your attention up here into your third eye, basically in your forehead. Feel the energy there, and then the top of your head. Feel the wonderful energy at the top of your head. And now imagine the energy there streaming out of the top of your head up into the heavens. And then it goes up into the heavens and it mixes around for a little while and comes back even more powerful, even more pure, and comes back down through the crown of your head and just washes all the way through your body, all the way from the top of your head, all the way down to your toes. Okay, good. So now we're kind of more calm and centered in our body a little bit. And we're going to go into this feeling of discouragement. So the first thing we want to do is we want to find it in your body. Where is it living in your body? Is it in your stomach? Is it in your solar plexus? Is it in your back? Is it behind your eyes? Wherever it is for you, that's fine. We just want to get next to that energy. We just want to allow it. That's the big verb here, is to allow. Allow that feeling of hopelessness and discouragement to just be. Let it be as strong as it needs to be. And for me, that discouragement has happened kind of in my solar plexus and my chest. And now we want to notice how it feels physically. Does it feel heavy? Does it feel weighty? Does it feel slow? Does it feel like it's dragging us down? What does it feel like physically? You know, that part in me, that helplessness part, just feels like I just want to crawl into a hole and die. So just allow that feeling to be there, that heavy energy. And now we want to talk to this feeling a little bit. We want to say to it, it's okay for you to be exactly as you are. And how does that feeling react to that? Is it fighting you or is it receptive? Is it pushing you away or is it glad to hear that it's okay for it to be sad? And is it sad? Is that what this heaviness is? Is it this kind of intense sadness? Breathe into it and feel your way through it. Is there any hurt there? Is this incredible heaviness a hurt child? You know, we're dealing with job searching and we're dealing with discouragement. You know, is there a child here that wasn't allowed to be what it wants to be? And does it feel so hopeless? So let's do this. Wrap your arms around this little poor, sad child. And just hold him or her. Just let them feel your physical touch. And let them know that you're there for them. And that it's safe for them to feel this sadness, this heaviness, this incredible weight. And that they don't have to feel it alone. And just breathe into it. So I want you to notice, you know, in allowing this heaviness to be there, the weight of this discouragement, you're giving this energy inside of you an incredible gift because it has been by itself all these years struggling on its own. And every moment that you spend here is a moment where it doesn't feel alone. In other words, you're healing your discouragement and your hopelessness actively by being here and holding this and creating space for it. And remember the most important verb, allowing. We're allowing these feelings of hopelessness to be here. And when we do that, an incredible healing takes place because this part is being heard and seen. And remember, there's no such thing as a grown-up emotion. They're all child emotions. And this part has been locked in this emotion of sadness and heaviness and hopelessness all this time. And so, in a very real way, what you have is a child that's been abandoned inside of you, and it's finally being seen and tended to. And when you show up and you do this, just even for a little bit every day, for 5 minutes a day, it starts to change how that child feels that's been suffering for so long. And that naturally starts to change your outlook, and you start to be free of it a little bit more. So I'd imagine just by spending time here in this place that some things are shifting. There might be a little bit more lightness with their energy, with this energy. There might not be. It's okay. Whatever this part is feeling is okay. We allow it to be. But notice that there's probably some space that's opened up in your body around this. There's more presence. You're probably breathing more easily. You're more centered. So notice that we went into this terrible feeling. And as you have, things have gotten better. This is what our society misses. Our society misses this completely because we're all running away from these feelings that seem so terrible. Because that's just how we've evolved and what we've been taught. But notice, really notice that when you go to these feelings and you don't fight them and you allow them to be, that you get into a better place. So I'm guessing for you, Angie, as you're sitting here and you're feeling this, you're much less concerned about the job search, right? The job search is this story that the ego and the hoops that the ego is jumping through to avoid these feelings, right? But then as you come here and as you feel these, there's a huge healing that happens. And there's a spiritual awakening that happens each in every moment, right? It's a small spiritual awakenings that eventually add up to a critical mass, and there's a breakthrough, right? So, and the most difficult thing is, so you can open your eyes and come back to so-called reality. The more you catch this stuff in the moment, and the more you can be present to it in this way, the more your life changes because you stop being sort of a victim of these feelings that take you over. Right. And it's a sort of, and it's a practice, and it's really very simple. That's the thing. It's not this complex thing. It's all you're doing is really being attentive to what's happening in the world at that moment. And in the world in that moment, you're feeling a certain way. So learning to tune into how you're feeling and how you're reacting is perhaps the most essential life skill that you can learn. Because when you start to do that, you start to see the construction of all the junk that's running you, and it starts to dissipate, and you start to become free, and you start to live more and more in the space of who you really are, this eternal being that is free and is happy and not bothered by the things that the ego is bothered by. The ego is going to continue to be bothered, but you start to realize you're not that ego. You're not that ego that's stuck and suffering, right? And so what we just did there, right, is here you were, you're out there searching for a job, you're trying to make money, you're frustrated that it's not happening quickly enough. And so then you feel discouraged. And so we go, okay, here's a feeling. This feeling. Anytime I have a negative feeling, I'm misperceiving life, right? So that's a moment where we stop and say, okay. And then what did we do? We went into the discouragement. We sat with it. We felt it. We realized it's actually this child wound that is being triggered by the current day situation. And that child felt like it was never going to get what it needed. It was never going to get it. And so it felt hopeless and discouraged. And what you did is, I'm sure it feels less discouraged now, because what makes a child not feel discouraged is to have somebody there with them, holding them, loving them, which you didn't get. but you're giving it to it now. So it's, as they say, it's never too late to have a great childhood. Right? And so what you did is you just improved your childhood and you gave some time and attention to the part that really feels hopeless, which is not the adult you looking for a job, but the child you that felt like it was never seen, but now it's seen, right? And so you've enacted in the moment a healing. And the key to the whole thing is you have to sort of catch it. Now, I say you have to catch it. You don't have to catch it in the moment, right? We don't want to put a lot of pressure on you. If you can catch it, great. But if not, you can always come back later after the fact, like we're doing here, and go, wait a minute, I felt very discouraged today, or I feel very discouraged now. Let me stop and let me go inside and see what it is. I made a video. I guess I haven't put it out there. It's coming out today, called A New Way of Living, right? And it's like, this is an entirely different and new way to approach life that really should catch on, because 95% of the human population is living in this state of, I'm ignoring all of this stuff to try to get out here and be successful. And the success is going to somehow alleviate all of this. But it's like, money doesn't heal trauma. You can be a billionaire and you can afford the best therapist in the world, but you still have to sit in the chair and you still have to walk through your own blocks and your own emotions, and there's no getting around it. And so learning how to walk through and deal with our feelings as they're happening in the moment, that's the key. That's the key to really being present, because you can't really be present. People are trying to be present to the tree and to this, and they're completely not present to them and what's happening inside of them. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. So, okay, so we're wrapping up for today. So hopefully that little walk through the discouragement and getting into the deeper hopelessness and the hopelessness of the child gives you just sort of more practice and a pattern for how to deal with these feelings when they arise. So, okay, so that's good. We'll leave that there. So great job, Angie. Great question. Before we wrap up, does anybody have a question? Yes, Chrysalis 369. It always feels weird calling people by their handle. Yeah. What is it? What's that saying? Above all things, know thyself. Roxanne. Hi, Roxanne. Above all things, know thyself, right? And this is really what this means, to know what's really going on inside of you and to see that the reactions that we have and what they're built on and where they're coming from. That's really getting to know ourselves. And, you will know the truth and the truth will set you free. I think that's how it goes. We're getting down more to the truth because our reactions are based on the past and based on lies and not the present. Okay. Any questions or thoughts before we wrap up for today? Thank you guys for being here. It was good having you. Good job, Angie. Good question. That really worked. Okay, if there are no adult emotions, I'm hanging on edge to hear the next part of the question. You're welcome, Angie. Love you too. Okay, so if there are no adult emotions, what is it? Okay, so I was just talking with somebody earlier, a wife and her husband had made a joke at a party about, I just thought that was my wife snoring. And she felt very hurt by that. And so we were talking about, how do you really be intimate with somebody? How do you really be in relationship with somebody? And I said, well, to be intimate with somebody else, you have to be intimate with yourself. So what she did is she went to him and she said, that really hurt me when you said that. And I said, okay, that's fine. I would change the language of that. I would change that to, when you said that, I felt hurt. But I said, that's not very intimate with yourself because you don't know why you're hurt. Why did that hurt you that he joked about you snoring? So we looked at it and we sat there and we went, okay, so here's this feeling. I feel hurt. Okay, that's the feeling. And what the adult and the ego wants to do is change the people around us, change the world around us so that we don't have that feeling again. But the problem is that feeling was already there. The hurt is already there, just waiting to happen. One of my favorite phrases around this is, If somebody throws salt at me, it doesn't hurt unless I have an open wound. So the real issue is not the salt, it's the open wound. The issue here is not that he made a joke at her expense, it's the pain that she experienced. The pain is already there, just waiting to be triggered. So the event triggered this feeling, right? It didn't cause it, it triggered it. Difference. And so what's this feeling? And so as we start to look at it, we go, okay, she feels hurt. She's worried about being embarrassed. They're going to think she's no good. Why would they think she's no good? Well, maybe it's because she's no good. So we get down to this and we sit with it, and that's what it is. She feels like, I'm no good, I'm horrible, I'm worthless. So you can see this very small thing is actually this gigantic iceberg. You're seeing the tip. The tip is, here's this small thing at a party, and you did this and it bothered me. That's just the tip of the iceberg. The iceberg is, I feel like I'm worthless. I feel like I'm not worth anything. So that is the wound inside that we have to work on, that we have to heal. And this event is good because it brings it into our consciousness so that we can see it, right? And that's so helpful. So instead of being, I'm so upset at you, it's like, thank you for bringing it to my attention that I don't have any worth. And now we begin to work on that. We call that part that says I have no worth. We call that a part. We say, okay, this part, because it's not the whole of me. It's just a part of me that's so wounded. And then we bring this consciousness, this love, this compassion to it. And then it starts to heal. And again, by us spending time with it, that makes it start to feel more worthy. And we heal that unworthiness with our time and attention, because that's the currency of a child, time and attention. And our childhood is not over. That's one of the important things, right? There is that child has been in those horrible emotions every decade since it happened at roughly 5 years old, right? So that's why there's no grown-up emotions. There's just current day circumstances or situations that trigger these intense feelings that we keep covered up all the time that seem buried. And that's kind of how it works. That's why this is the work that I do, to help people realize and see where their pain is really coming from, right? And how they can start to shift that and change that. You're welcome. Okay, we're going to wrap up for today. Roxanne, great meeting you. Thanks. And we're going to do this every Thursday. So maybe I'll see you next time, or I'll see you on my YouTube channel, or I'll see you on my free community. I don't know if you've signed up for that, but I have one. It's called Unblock Your Brilliance. So if you're interested in that, you can find the link in any one of my YouTube videos. Okay, well, be well. Great. Wonderful. Well, I'm glad we got to interact face to face. All right, have a great day, everybody. Cheers.